The history of Unitarianism is fascinating. Find out more as we explore the earliest inclinations of the Christian faith toward a Unitarian instead of Trinitarian view in this episode of 3 Minutes in UU History. During the first 300 years or so of Christianity, known as the pre-Nicene period, the idea of the Trinity was not the predominant belief. This was certainly true during the Apostolic age in the years following Jesus' death, and likely true as Christians approached the time of the Nicene Council. That being said, early beliefs in Christianity were constantly changing. One key debate was between the proponents of low Christology and high Christology, with the low Christologists believing that Jesus was essentially the adopted Son of God upon his death, and the high Christologists believing that his divinity was extant upon his birth. Other stuff was going on in this age, but I'm trying to get this done in 3 minutes. After the Council of Nicaea in 325, the Arian view, that's A-R-I-A-N, not A-R-Y-A-N, that's an important distinction, of Jesus as a created being and not divine was quashed. And in 381, when the Eastern Orthodox Church adopted a Trinitarian view, all of official Christianity espoused the tripartite belief in a Father, Son, and Holy Spirit that existed as a single divine source. But this was not the end of Unitarian views circulating within Christian circles. Arianism was revived in 16th century Poland, while a few years later an Episcopal-style Unitarianism emerged in nearby Transylvania. In the same time period, Michael Servetus was writing non-Trinitarian treatises in France, for which he was imprisoned and executed in Geneva, Switzerland by Calvin during an ill-timed stop in the city. It was in this landscape that the Socinian style of Unitarianism, as imagined by Lelio Sozzini, or Socinius in Latin, and later by his nephew Fausto Sozzini, migrated to Poland via the marriage of the elder Sozzini into a Polish Unitarian family. Meanwhile, in Transylvania, Ferenc David, sometimes translated as Francis David, was a Unitarian preacher and ardent supporter of religious freedom. It was in this political religious landscape that Ferenc David persuaded Prince John of Transylvania to call together the various political factions, at which point they created the Edict of Torda, the first instance of legal religious pluralism in modern Europe, in that there were 4 distinct religions allowed in the kingdom, including Unitarianism. The edict remained in force until the middle of the next century, but in the meantime, Ferenc David died in prison after he was sentenced to life for his heretical views. In the 18th century, Unitarian belief sprang into being in England and the American colonies with the forming of the Essex Street Church in London in 1774, and Unitarian thought circulating in the colonies from approximately the 1750s and on, and the Hollis Street Church in Boston, changing from a congregational church to Unitarian in 1800. In the middle of the 19th century, American Unitarianism was greatly influenced by the Transcendentalists and their nature-loving individualist outlook. This, perhaps in turn, was followed by the Reverend John Dietrich and the Reverend Curtis Reese, both Unitarians, who began preaching a humanist style of religion. This led to the writing and publication of the first Humanist Manifesto in 1933 by a group of philosophers and Unitarian ministers. Following the merger of Unitarians and Universalists in 1961, we see a denomination that, over the last 60 years, has drawn more upon the humanist aspects within it than its Unitarian Christian roots. Sorry, Universalists. It would be fair to say that different congregations have different affinities for the Unitarian Christianity present in the DNA of the faith. And that is today's much too long 3 minutes in UU history.